Okay, welcome to Chapter 7. This chapter is all about the development strategies that you use to finally accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to do. This is the last part of the system analysis phase. After this phase is complete, we're going to be spending more time on the actual development part. So as usual, let me just jump in and go over the chapter objectives. So starting on page 258, let's just go through them. So you should be able to describe the concept of software as a service. That's a cool term. Web 2.0 and cloud computing. We actually have an entire chapter 10 on that. So, but hey, it's here too. Explain software acquisition alternatives. Describe software outsourcing. Explain the advantages and disadvantages of doing it in-house versus out-house. Discuss the cost-benefit analysis, total cost of ownership, those kind of financial terms. Describe the request for proposal or request for quotations. Describe the system requirements document. We mentioned to you before, that's basically the contract that says here's what the system is going to do. Explain the transition from this phase over to the development phase. Okay, as always, there's a really cool preview case there on page 259 that I kind of like. Those are kind of cool. I find them useful. Okay, on 260 they talk about, in general terms, kind of how we got to where we are. In the old days, of course, old days in computing business isn't that long ago. But anyway, in the old days, you basically had two choices. You could develop your own software in-house, or you could just buy it from a vendor. That was essentially it. Now there's a lot more choices. I mean, there's a choice between whether I want it on a PC, do I want it on the web, do I want it on the cloud, you know, all these subscription service versus buying outright, all these different things, which of course has made the job of a system analyst even more fun than it used to be. So lots and lots of things have happened in the interim, mostly centering around the internet, which is the next topic. And of course the internet is basically everywhere. You could, for example, say every person that has Microsoft Office installed also has an internet connection. And you'd probably be right. I mean, I've got no way to prove that. But the point is, you can pretty much well say that if you have this, then you also have internet connection. And because it's that much available, this whole concept of software as a service has come up. Clearly, for software as a service to make sense, you need to have high speed and reliable internet connection. Otherwise, you know, it's not going to work. But let's just look at an example for a minute about whether or not I want to use Microsoft's subscription service called Office 365, or I want to outright buy a copy of Microsoft Office. So right off the bat, it's $100 per year or $99 a month, my choice, for this home premium. And you might think, I don't know, you know, $100 a month, that's kind of a lot. Well, let's just look at what the alternatives are. Down here is what Office Professional would cost you, and that's $400 one time for one PC. One. Up here, this is $99 per year up to 5 PCs. So if you have, you know, a lot of kids and every kid has their own computer, and let's perhaps say that you've already got 3 or 4 copies of Microsoft Office, wow, that subscription service is beginning to look a little bit better now, isn't it? Yeah. So you pay a subscription and you get your software. Yes, it does require you to have some sort of connectivity and mostly reliable. It does work in a disconnected mode. I mean, if your internet went down, I mean, you're not like you can't open Microsoft Word. Anyway, the point is that this system is designed essentially to be cloud-based. So this is a classic example of software as a service that's someplace else, and I don't have to worry about updates, I don't have to worry about security patches, I don't have to worry about any of that stuff because it's all in the cloud and somebody else is taking care of it. All I do is once a month or once a year, I give them money and I'm happy. So that's, in essence, that's software as a service. The next topic that they talk about is, you're going to have to decide whether or not you want to do traditional PC-based kind of development or web-based development. And the idea is that in traditional development, you probably have a lot more controls. You probably know in advance what kind of machines you have. It's typically going to be an office environment with a local area network, and you're going to know that they have this installed and that installed, or every machine has access to a color printer, or every machine has access to a scanner. Some kind of thing. You know an awful lot about the internal configuration of your office environment, and so it's pretty easy for you to write an application that can exploit those kind of things if it's done locally. So yes, an awful lot of the designs are influenced by compatibility issues. I know what I've got, I know what I don't have, I know what software I'm installed. So for example, if I have a particular application that will only talk to Oracle, well, that kind of sort of means I need Oracle, those kind of things. And of course, they often use an awful lot of, even though they're land-based, they can still pop out to the internet and get stuff. Just because it's traditional development doesn't mean it doesn't access the web. And basically it follows typically one of three paths, where you do it in-house, or you purchase software, or you use an outside consultant to kind of help you put something together. Now, the outside consultant is not necessarily a developer. It could be just a third party that can do some research for you and come up with some things. So in-house, purchase, or kind of like custom software. Somebody can put something together for you. And of course, an issue here is scalability. You're on a LAN. You don't want to be passing an awful lot of graphics or stuff across the LAN. Generally speaking, the networks are going to be much, much faster than a web interface. The LAN speeds are considerably faster than most people's household internet connections. Okay, so security is usually not all that great, because I kind of know my environment. I know that my machines are shut down at night, or the building is locked up. And I don't have to worry about people snooping in on my LAN connection, because my LAN, in theory, is all inside my building. Anyway, those kinds of things are kind of straightforward. And this traditional technique has been around quite some time, as you can probably imagine. Okay, the next one on page 262, they talk about the web-based technology. Well, one of the things that comes up a lot is, let's say I develop an application and I install it on 100 machines in my company, and then I find a bug and I go, oh man, I need to send out a patch. Well, I have to go to 100 machines and either uninstall or reinstall or install a patch, or I have to do something to 100 machines for them to all get the new updated version. Now, I'll admit there's some automated ways of doing that, but just bear with me. Now, contrast that to the web. I have a web server that everyone's hitting, and when it comes time for me to update the software, all I have to do is update the copy of the thing on the one web server, and boop, instantly everyone has the new stuff. Pretty doggone cool. Now, clearly this works very well when you're not in a corporate environment, because I might have people all over the world. I might have tens of thousands of people hitting my web page, and there's no way that I can expect them to all download and install and update. First of all, they won't do it because they'll be afraid that there's something wrong. But anyway, the point of the story is the web. One of the major advantages in doing web-based is this deployment kind of a scenario. I deploy it once and I'm done. Okay, so they're kind of designed not just using the traditional HTTP web technology. There's extra things that are thrown in there, usually called a framework. There are a lot of frameworks out there. There's the Java framework for doing web-based things. There's lots of them. I'm very familiar with Microsoft's .NET, ASP.NET as their web platform. So it's not really a web page. It's really a web application. All right. And so it kind of sort of like software as a service. Somebody sitting somewhere attaches to your web page and then does something. You could have some sort of metered service where you send them a bill, as an example, but you don't have to. Okay, on page 262 at the bottom, they talk about the Web 2.0 and cloud computing. Web 2.0 is hyped big time. Several years ago, they started talking about Web 2.0 and all this good stuff. What it basically means, cut through all of the marketing crap. Web 2.0 basically means I have the ability to participate. I can send data to a web page. And so you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about discussion forums where I can write entries or blogs or comments, or I can post pictures and Facebook. So you're not using a web as merely a static thing that somebody else generates all the content. Web 2.0 is all about me providing content. So that's the quick and dirty version of Web 2.0. And kind of sort of sounds like a test question, doesn't it? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, the next topic on 263, they talk about outsourcing. Yes, you have some choices between do something, a development task inside your own company and outsourcing. And believe it or not, most people think, oh well, the reason why you outsource is because it costs you less money. You can go overseas or something and get somebody else to do it cheaper. That's not normally, believe it or not, that's not normally the number one reason. The number one reason is you're deploying a new technology in this application that you currently don't have the expertise. It's really a human capital piece that's missing. It would take too long to bring your existing staff up to speed because you need to be working on it now. And at the pace at which these things work, you can't wait 6 months to bring your staff up to date, because quite frankly, at the end of 6 months, you'd have to do it again for whatever the next new thing that pops out. And so it's almost always the case that when you go to outsourcing, it's to get to that latest and greatest technology that somebody else has invested the time and energy in bringing their staff up to date, so you don't have to. It's kind of crazy. So they're called service providers. If I'm providing outsourcing, I'm considered a service provider. If there's a thing specifically called an application service provider, which is acronym ASP. Now, unfortunately, there's two different phrases using ASP. One is that Microsoft Active Server pages. That is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about application service provider. And so, like for example, here in Microsoft Office 365, Microsoft is an application service provider. So it's a company that provides subscription services, perhaps a pay-as-you-go kind of a scenario, or like this, pay per month or pay per year kind of a thing. Okay. So you could have another type of internet business where you want their involvement, but you kind of limit it. So a classic example of an internet business model like this is I'm using a company to host my web page. So they're providing the hardware and the basic software and all the connectivity, all that for me, and all I have to do is provide the content. So you have a service provider, an application service provider, and basically it's sort of like a web provider or an internet provider. Not necessarily an internet provider providing connectivity, but an internet service provider. Okay, so the next one is, okay, let's say I am outsourcing, and how do I get paid? So on page 264, they talk about you can have a fixed fee, for example, like what we have here for the Microsoft thing, and or you could have a variable by how many users, or you could have a pay-as-you-go kind of a scenario, knowing full well that if you use this many packets or this many records on the database, I'll charge you per storage, or I'll charge you per transaction. So this is probably a good place to stop at the 15-minute mark. We'll pick this up in just a few.